Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope you are all well, inshallah. In today's episode, we have a really, really interesting one coming up. Mainly because you would have probably heard of or watched a film in the recent months, which is known as One Day in the Haram. And this is an amazing film, and that's exactly what we're going to speak about today. But we're fortunate enough to have the award-winning director and filmmaker, the man behind it, who usually actually is behind the camera. But today we've got him on the screen, on the camera, to discuss more about not just One Day in the Haram, but exciting news. Also, we've got a new film coming out, inshallah, One Night in Al Aqsa. I'm super excited. I'm super pumped. We have with us brother Abrar. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Very well, thank you, brother. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Alhamdulillah. Like we said, you're always behind the camera, so
Yeah.
it's good to finally speak to you directly and find out more about these films, which we would have seen, especially One Day in the Haram, of course. You know what? I remember watching it, right, and there was the one scene where the Imam, he's slowly walking to the Haram to lead the Salah, and then, when he says Allahu Akbar and he starts reciting Fatiha, I just remember watching it, and like literally the hairs on the back of my neck were standing up, and it was just such a, even though I've been there, alhamdulillah, I've been to the Haram about 5 times.
MashaAllah,
I've been there for Umrah. I haven't been for Hajj, but I've been there for Umrah about 5 times now. But even then, after watching the film, it just takes you back there, brings back all the emotions. And it was my favorite Imam, Sheikh Bandar Valila as well, who led the Salah. So it just brought everything, all those memories back. It's just such an amazing experience. So well done, honestly, with the success of that film. May Allah bless you even more. And it's not just a film that's for people who have been there, but it's an educational film, we could say, as well, for people who haven't been there, and for even non-Muslims as well. That's one thing I really liked. So we're gonna talk more about it. But my first question is, right, this is a big project. Like, this is no joke to go and film One Day in the Haram, right? That's huge. It's not like I'm just taking my camera, I'm going to vlog a day in the Haram. This is like behind the scenes. How did you manage to do that? Like, because it's not easy to land something like that. How did you do it? What was the process?
I mean, alhamdulillah, all praises to Allah. I mean, it's really difficult when someone asks a question like that because, when we was actually going through it, it was such a surreal experience. It didn't feel like it was going to happen.
Okay.
For the longest time, I actually thought, well, they're not going to let us do this.
Yeah.
We were going in there and we was asking them for things that no one had ever even asked them for before. We was asking them to open all the departments of the Harem, give us access to all the employees of the Harem. This level of access, it was something alien to them. They couldn't quite understand what does he want to do with all this access. So it was just talking and explaining to all the different departments and just continuously meeting people, knocking on doors, getting rejections, knocking on more doors, getting rejections, knocking on more doors. We just had a really good intention for what we was going to do. I had a really, really strong belief that it was going to be something positive and it's going to be good. I mean, one really interesting thing is, obviously it took 8 months to get those permissions. And so that 8 months, we spent the majority of that time in and around Mecca. So obviously we was praying in the Haram, all the time. And I'd make, when I did my dua, after the salahs at the Haram, we do the regular dua for my family, for my health, and, for the Syrians and the Palestinians. We do all the normal duas. And then just right at the end, I'll do a special dua for the film. And, the funny thing is that the dua for the film, it wasn't like that kind of dua where I was saying, Ya Allah, please, let this film happen. It wasn't anything like that. I was literally like to Allah in my dua that, Ya Allah, if this is going to be something good for the Muslims, if it's going to be something good for Islam, then let me have it. And if it's not, keep it away from me. And I was just so relaxed and comfortable there. Mecca is a surreal place. You can't explain things that happen in Mecca when you come outside of that bubble, outside of the Haramain. It feels different, but when you're in the Haramain, the belief that everything is ordained by Allah is just so strong that it just made me feel so comfortable. Because it's as people often say that, if Allah hasn't ordained something for you, it doesn't matter. Even if it's between your lips, you're not going to have it. So I was completely comfortable just thinking on this level. And alhamdulillah, thanks to the grace and the will of Allah, He made it easy for us and gave us the necessary permissions.
Yeah.
If I was gonna credit one person for helping open those doors, then certainly I think from when Sheikh Sudais got involved in the project, and when we managed to get the audience with Sheikh Sudais when we pitched him, and he liked the idea.
Really?
From there, things were much smoother, much easier for us. Yeah, all the doors opened from that point.
I thought, you know what, when you just mentioned that, I thought you were going to credit your friend or something, Sheikh Sudais.
Yeah.
I
mean, it took a lot of our friends, our contacts in the Haramain, especially in Aqsa, in the Haramain media department, to get us in front of Sheikh Sudais. They said, no, you really, for this level, they believed in it, and they said for this level of project, you really need to speak to the main person. So once we did, and it was really funny actually. I'll share a funny story with you. When we'd gone in there, we met the Sheikh, and mashallah, he was very, very nice, and we pitched the project and explained to him what it was going to be, and it's going to be one day in the Harem. It's about the workers, and we're going to go through the 5 prayers, and it's all going to be in one day, and things like this. And all he really said was, "I like it." And he said this in Arabic, so I'll translate it for me. Yeah, I like it. It's good, like this. That's literally all he said. He didn't sign anything. He didn't say, yeah, make it like this. He didn't say anything. But once he left the room, all his little aides, they came to us straight away and they said, "What do you want? Okay, what do you need? Well, we're going to make this happen for you." So, alhamdulillah, I say just...
If you need something done, you go to him, yeah?
Yeah, so I think if you need something done in the Haramain, then go to him.
It.
Yeah.
Well, he is the main imam there, and but it's just amazing because obviously you went there not like you weren't like a big media organizational channel. You weren't like the BBC turning up. You're just a few individuals with a vision, right? What was your vision going into it?
Yeah, I think actually you touched on a very good point there. The fact that the BBC have been there to Makkah, and National Geographic have been there and made a film there as well. They didn't get anywhere near the level of access we got, and I think it probably worked in our favour that we weren't with a big organisation, that we were small, independents going in there and saying, look, this is our vision, this is what we want to do. Actually, I spoke to one of my contacts at BBC on returning to the UK, and I showed them a cut of the film, and they were just amazed. They were like, how did you get this? Here's another funny thing. I just remembering as you're talking, while we were filming the film, we were going to the different departments, and we're filming the head guy at these departments, and literally people within the departments were saying, they were looking at our cameras and our drones and our dollies and all the big equipment we bought there, and they were saying, how did you get this permission? Like, even they were amazed. Even the people working with it were amazed that they had been authorized, they had been, allowed to happen. But alhamdulillah, say, blessings of Allah. It's really a film that if I'm honest, it's just changed my life. So alhamdulillah, I'm definitely most grateful about it, and I pray that we did it justice.
Yeah, inshallah. So coming back to it then, in terms of your overall, like, the vision, like, was it I want to, I've been to Mecca, I want to share that experience with other people? Was it, I want to educate people about what the Haram is all about? Like, what would you say was the purpose, the vision behind this?
I think the real purpose behind it was that, yes, we wanted to do something positive for Islam, something that would show the beauty of Islam, show what a beautiful religion it was. Obviously we all know how misrepresented it is in the media on occasion. So it was definitely something to combat that, and that's been the ethos of my career from the last 10 years, not just now. So that was definitely something. But really, I think the key motivation for making One Day in the Haram was for all those millions of Muslims around the world who never got the opportunity to go to Mecca. That was the thing. And when we're talking about people who have hardships, people who financially can't afford to go to Mecca, or don't have the opportunity to go to Mecca, haven't been invited, we're actually going as far as to think about the Rohingya in the camps. We're thinking about the Syrian refugees. These people will unlikely. They can't even get to a cinema, let alone to Mecca. It's like something that is far from them. So really, we're thinking about these people, and we're thinking to create some kind of immersive experience that would be the next best thing for them. to give them just a taste, a feel of how it would be. And for the people who were around the world who did have the opportunity but hadn't been, just to increase their intention for them to make an intention to see this film and make an intention to go to Mecca. So I think we succeeded in that, because many people, alhamdulillah, from the feedback told me that we watched your film and it made us want to go to Mecca. But the most positive, I think, feedback that really, was part of the aims was that people said that the film made them feel like they were in Mecca. It made people who'd been already. It said that it just brought the memories back so strongly that it felt like we were there, like a real immersive experience. So alhamdulillah, we did aim to do that, and alhamdulillah, from the feedback, it seems like we succeeded. So like I say, I keep saying just alhamdulillah, blessings of Allah, because really there's no other way to explain what happened. I can't explain it myself, because you can imagine the situation, and what Saudis are like. A British Pakistani Muslim to go there and get this level of provision is just unheard of. It's just this kind of thing doesn't happen. And when I calculate everything in my head, go over how the process went, it's impossible to attribute it to anything else other than the will of Allah. Allah made this happen, because I don't think me or my team were capable of doing this.
You mentioned your team, by the way. So how big would this team would have been?
Yeah, the Harem team actually was quite big, because it's a very strenuous shoot, and the Harem is very big. I mean, there's like I think it was 77 different departments or something like that, or over 70 different departments, and we wanted to make sure we covered each one. We wanted to make sure we'd researched each one and put the ones in the film that were most, came across best in film. So we needed quite a big kind of a production team for that. And also, once we developed the shot lists and the scenes we wanted to film, we realized that, okay, we're going to need like definitely 2 separate camera crews to do this, 2 sets of, sound teams, and then we had the drone operators, and we had the runners, and we had the production manager, and we had probably all in all there was around 20 of us who were on the crew every day there. But plus to that, remember the Al Riyasa Haramain were also with us, so there were 10 from there as well. So around 10 people from there who were, whenever the police or the security would come, would show them the permissions and speak in Arabic to them, and make sure everything stayed smooth. So altogether, when we were moving through the Haram, it was a real sight, because there was 30 of us with equipment just moving as a unit through the Haram. It was really amazing, subhanallah. It was an amazing experience. Yeah.
No way. No, I was thinking much less than that. Though in hindsight, thinking about it, it's such a huge project. You would need that number.
Yeah.
But obviously, when you watch these films, you don't think about the effort that goes behind the scenes. You don't think about how many people you need, because even when I think of you're a director yourself, you're a filmmaker. When it comes to actually creating a film, like you said, you had a list of all the different shots you wanted. That was actually a question I was going to ask, because when you're creating a film, is it that you just kind of go in, record as much footage as possible, and then sieve it out and say, okay, this is what we want in the film? Or is it like, the shots that are now in the film, whether it's this one, whether it's the upcoming ones, is that exactly how you wanted it? Are those the shots that you planned beforehand? How does it work? What's that process even before you start filming?
Alhamdulillah, I think with filmmaking, it's like you plan.
Okay.
And you plan and plan and plan, and to very, with the Haram, we planned it to minute detail, depending on the time, because our film was set across the 5 prayers, so certain scenes were timed to where the position of the sun would be over the Haram at that time, so we planned these things in minute detail, and a lot of the shots that are in One Day in the Haram were already sketched out. Like, we knew we was going to get those shots. I had this shot, okay, I'm going to take this shot like this, or the camera angle's going to be like this. We did that, but alhamdulillah, it's like, on days in the Haram, those plans would just go completely out of the window, because suddenly something would happen, which meant that an area that we'd planned to be in, planned to shoot in, suddenly became unavailable to us, because the crowd had moved in a way where it was too crowded, and it was too much of a health and safety risk to go in there. So mostly my job as the director consisted of having these plans, having them scuppered, and then quickly sitting down, scribbling furiously and rearranging plans, and just being very adaptable. I think to work in the Haram, you have to be very adaptable, because it's like a living organism. It's just completely moving and shifting, and all the time. It's just the situation there is changing. Areas are getting cordoned off and opened up again. Walkways are cordoned off and opened up again. So it was really just about being very quick on your feet, just adapting to the situation, and not just in a negative way. because positive things would happen as well. Like, we'd be filming something and suddenly we'd get a call that say, hey, this is happening here right by the Kaaba. We can go there now if you want to, Abrar. If you want to go there, we can go. I say, okay, that's really amazing. Let's go there now. So we'd actually drop our own plans because something more compelling had come across, or an opportunity had come to film something that was going to be very important for the film. So yeah, it was really a bit of both then. So planning, be very well prepared, but be prepared to go with the time, to go with the flow, and change your plans as necessary. I think that's how it worked. Yeah.
Out of curiosity, like, what makes a good director? Because obviously you hear the famous names. You hear like Spielberg, for example, in Hollywood, right? These are just names you'll hear. But what would you say makes a good director at the end of the day?
I mean, I think I think every director and every director's style is different. Some directors have a very hands-on approach. A lot of directors that I know who are working directors, they don't know how to operate a camera.
Okay.
So this is a big distinction between the self-shooting directors and the non-self-shooting directors. See, for me, I grew up with the camera. So from when I was 10 years old, I was around with a camcorder. I was filming everything. I loved filming. That was my first love, was the camera. That was the thing that I knew instinctually, like it was a toy or something. It's just something that fascinated me. That was my natural interest as a child. So as I grew up, then I kind of developed into the directing and producing side, but the camera work always came naturally to me. But yeah, I know other directors who have no inkling of the camera or no interest in it. That all they're interested in is looking at the monitor and seeing what the shot looks like when it comes out. For me, I actually want to take the shot myself as well whenever I can. I always feel like to explain to someone else, okay, I want it exactly like this. It's always sometimes easier just to grab the camera. But that's not always possible on strenuous shoots, because sometimes you have to just let the cameraman go with the vision, because in the Harem, for example, you remember those time lapses at the beginning. That selection of time lapses, they were planned from long ago. We knew we was going to get, and we did a lot of research on those time lapses, like where the locations would be, what the best location for a time lapse, and then a lot of work post production to see, okay, how can we create these kind of light streaks effects that we had in there. We did a lot of work on that in post before we even went out there. We took test shots. So when it came to the shoot, now as the director, I'm not gonna stand there for 2 hours to film that time lapse, because you have to film it over a period of time. So I'd much rather allocate one of the camera crews, go there and film that. And that was just how I worked it. So I think, as I say, every director's style is different. I really don't know what other directors' styles are like. I'm sure some people would probably look at my directing style and think, hey man, he does things in a really strange way. But then I might look at another director's style and think, oh, that wouldn't work for me. But I think there's two things that every director has, and one is really a good technical understanding of how the film is going to look at the end. So the vision at the end, so just to have a really clear vision of what the film is going to look like. And secondly, just be a very good communicator. Just be a very good, because you have to talk to everyone. You have to talk not just to your own crew, but all the external kind of stakeholders in the film.
Sure.
They're all going to have a vested interest in it. For us in the Harem, we had sponsors who were there visiting the set. We had obviously the Haramain guys who were always looking to see what we were doing, and we had our own crew, we had our own team. There was lots of different stakeholders. So just the ability to be able to communicate with everyone in a very clear way, and to explain your vision in a very clear way, so so everything's consistent. I think these are very important things.
No, I learned something new there, because with directors, I thought every director knew how to handle the camera.
You'd be really surprised. You'd be really surprised.
So when you were actually now in the Haram, because you had such access that people like myself and normal people just visiting, whether it's for Hajj and Umrah, we wouldn't have that. You go to the Mataf area, you do your tawaf, you do your Umrah, or you pray your Salah. If you're fortunate, if you get there early, you get into the actual Haram, into the Masjid. That's kind of like the access we get. If you're lucky, if you get to the front row, maybe you see the Imam. You got an audience with Sheikh Sudais. You managed to follow the Imams around. But the thing is, like, when you were actually there, now that you had this kind of unrestricted access, were there any things that you might be able to share with us that you would think, these are some really interesting facts that a lot of people won't know about the Haram? Something you could give us some insight into that.
Yeah, I mean, there was so many little things, some things that I wouldn't share, but there is something I can share,
Okay, go on.
which I found fascinating, to be honest. When we were filming the scene with the muazzins, inside the muazzin, we met a whole host of muazzins, and we spent, maybe about half a day filming there. And they have got a very good system there, a foul-proof system. So they've got a muazzin and a standby muazzin as well, and then next to the standby is the trainee muazzin. So they actually have 3 muazzins there, just in case something happens and they can't give the azans, and make sure they never miss the azan. Now, when we was filming with the muazzins, they actually did something. They were, because everyone's just relaxing. We were setting up the shots and the lights and things like that. So we're just relaxing with the muazzins, and they're really comfortable with us by then. And the muazzins were actually, it's difficult to explain what they were doing, but they were actually doing different pitches and styles of azan.
Okay,
and they were doing, and he was saying something like, okay, and this is how they do it in Syria, and he was doing it like in this way. And the other muazzin was bouncing back off him, going, "Yeah, I heard it like this, and it was like this," and it was amazing. It was like hearing 2, very comfortable, singers or something, opera singers or something, and just comparing different voice notes and how they could make their voices sound. It was such an amazing experience to see that, and we actually did film it. And I asked them, "Hey, is it all right to put this in the film?" And they're like, "No, please, just the azan, just the proper azan." So we end up not putting it in the film, but it was one of the memories that I kept with me. Yeah, it was really amazing to see them relaxed in that environment, in the room that is facing the Kaaba, right in front of the microphones. It was really a great moment, a moment that I cherished, actually.
It's one of those moments, I guess, that you couldn't have planned that, isn't it?
No.
It's just, it happened on the spot.
Very much so, yeah.
It would have been nice if we actually managed to see that in the film.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
But yeah, I guess the different maqams that the 2 muadhins they were doing. And that was actually really interesting, because even that, for example, like I didn't know they have 20 muadhins, I believe, from when I watched the film. And even seeing that room, because you always wonder when you're in the Haram, where on earth is the muadhin? Like, where are they doing the adhan from? So to actually see that room, it's like a whole setup, microphone there. That's something, again, like a lot of people, they wouldn't know that. But you basically took us behind the scenes to show us that. So yeah, there's some amazing stuff in that film, which is crazy. Alhamdulillah. So with the Haram, it was a huge project, and alhamdulillah, you managed to get that done. And obviously, since then, the response must have been overwhelming. I mean, I've been following on your social media, and I could just see it. Not just in the UK, it's like worldwide screenings taking place. Alhamdulillah, a lot of great feedback. What's kind of the main feedback that you've been receiving on the back of this film?
Just another interesting story. Just about the release and the success of One Day in the Haram was, obviously, as we mentioned, there was 20 to 30 people on the crew. And it was a very busy time when we were filming. But when we started the post-production, literally, there was just me and my editor. Okay. We was literally locked in a room and we was editing this film. All the crew, everyone had gone by then. We was just on the hard work now, on the real kind of the business end of the film. The nitty gritty editing and which scenes to put in, everything. And we was working always really late into the night. And one of these days, I was literally would turn around to him, the editor, and say, "Subhanallah, we're working so hard, but I wonder is anyone actually going to even want to see this film?" Because honestly, we had no inkling. And I didn't. Although I had. I felt really good because I knew I was doing something really good for Islam. But I had a sneaky suspicion that the film was going to do really well, that a lot of people were going to be able to relate to the film. But I didn't allow myself to become confident about it. I just kept that feeling over there. You didn't get too carried away, basically. Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to, feel... disappointed then if the Muslims around the world didn't react or didn't like the film, which was always something in the back of my mind. So, but I felt quietly confident that we are doing something important here and something that's going to resonate. So when the film came out and it started having that level of success, and so many people responded to it, and were giving these amazing comments, and the most pleasing thing, so many people, for me personally, were making dua for me, and I couldn't. But I was so grateful for that because it's one thing having support of the people and the people around you, and I had a lot of support, alhamdulillah, but to have people on the other side of the world, they've never met you, they don't know you, they have nothing vested in you, and they're making genuine dua for you. It's just so beautiful. I was honestly touched by that and touched by the feedback all over the world. It was every time it would come, it was a surprise. It never got old for me. It was always a surprise when another person would put a beautiful comment or say something, saying saying, bless you, brother Abrar, for making this film. It was just, it was ultimately very, very rewarding in that way.
I can imagine, subhanAllah. And
Yeah.
the editing process you mentioned, so
Yeah.
how long would that have taken then?
Yeah, it took around 6 months in the edit.
Really?
Yeah, about 6 months in the edit.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a
But
long time.
we were really taking our time. We didn't rush. We knew
Yeah.
it was important, and we knew it was, it's kind of the thing where if you've got that level of access, you really want to give it your best effort, your best resource towards it. And we didn't spare any kind of expense on it as well. But people need to understand that when we made One Day in the Haram, it was always from the start designed to go on cinemas. We never saw it as something that was going to just be on TV or just going to be on internet. We always thought this is going to be a cinematic film, and we shot it in that way. We shot it with all these beautiful wide shots, with the helicopter shots. It was designed to be seen on big screens, So having shot it like that, we then had to go through a process which not many people understand, because it's a technical post-production process. But obviously there is like grading, visual effects, a Dolby 5.1 surround sound, so just to enable the sound to sound good on cinema speakers, and then production of a DCP to allow it to go on cinema. So this added like a lot of time onto the post-production, which is normal for cinema films, but not normal for normal kind of productions that we'd worked on before.
How important do you feel it is, as in, especially in the Muslim scene, we could say, to produce work, not just in the field that you're in, just all around, like to produce work that is of high level of quality, something which is even, kind of getting into the mainstream side of things, not just something which is, I'll do a half job of it. Sometimes we have this mentality, I'll just do a half job of it, won't put too much money or time and effort into it. How important do you think that is? Because obviously you're seeing the results of you doing that now. If you did if you did it half-heartedly, okay, let me just cut expenses here and there and put out a film somehow, I don't think it would have got the response that it has had, isn't it? So how important do you think that is?
I mean, for me, it's the most important thing of all. I really feel Islamic films, Islamic products, they have to be of the highest quality possible. You have to do things at the highest quality possible, because I mean, what can be more important than that, actually? And to think, with mainstream, they're making productions that are in effect, they're entertainment productions, so they're kind of frivolous in a way, but entertainment has its place. I'm not saying that. I consume entertainment as well. Everyone does. Entertainment has its place, but films like this are on a kind of higher spiritual level. They're on a higher level of importance in terms of for the benefit of mankind, if you like, for the benefit of the world. So you're really doing something that there's nothing more important than that. I always feel that in Islam, we're always swimming against the tide, so we have to swim that little bit harder. It wasn't enough for me to make a film that was just adequate on the Haram. I had to make something that was going to be outstanding, because I had to get this to the attention of the world, and as you mentioned earlier, to the attention of non-Muslims as well. It's such One Day in the Haram is such a tremendous tool for dawah. The amount of non-Muslims who've watched that and become interested in Islam. It's alhamdulillah. So I really do think as Muslims, we have to aim for excellence, in everything we do. And I think Islamic, the Islamic entertainment scene is shifting. It really is shifting from even in the last 10 years. The shift has been amazing, and one of the legacy parts of One Day in the Haram is that it's really set a benchmark standard where a lot of people are looking and say, hey, if he can do that, then we can do something great like that. And that's one of the most pleasing things as well, because it's literally encouraged a whole new generation of Muslim Islamic filmmakers. I always used to say, because I've been producing and directing things for 10 years, so over 10 years now, and I always used to say, man, being a producer is, for me, is the coolest job in the world. But you know what is actually cooler than being a producer or a director is being an Islamic producer or director. That is literally the coolest thing in the world, because not only are you doing what you love, but then the benefits, the reward you're gaining for it is just it's on another level, because it's just everything's multiplied by so much, because so many people are watching it and benefiting and learning from it. So I think very, very important, and we must continue to develop this. We must keep pushing this scene forward. I think this is my mission in life, is to increase the level of professionalism, the level of training, and the level of importance that that people give to this, because they should realize if you're making a film that is centered on dawah, if you're making a film that is centered around an important subject in Islam, you have to make that the best thing in the world. It's your duty, you know.
Yeah, because one word you mentioned was excellence. So this is the Islamic teaching of ihsan in everything that we do.
Absolutely.
So whether you're a creative, whether you're a student, whether you're a teacher, you have a profession, you're at work, we're taught to do everything with the best of our abilities.
Right.
We can't translate ihsan as perfection, because obviously as human beings we always have shortcomings, but to try and do something to the highest level, I think that's really a message all of us, especially Feed family, can take home. Is that, you know what, if all of the Muslims actually, you know, really work towards ihsan, then we would see the quality of our products, of our films, and like you said, eventually and you know, essentially, I guess dawah is the primary goal as well, because now you're able to reach out to the masses, you're able to educate people and bring them closer to Islam. I think that's amazing. I think that's amazing to be able to use films as a tool for dawah, which I think more people definitely need to do. I don't think there's enough. Do you think there's enough like Islamic films material out there? I don't think there is.
I don't think there's even enough individuals involved in this industry. You know, the individuals who are out there making a career out of this, you can literally count them on you know, one hand. There's not a mass movement in this, but if people could see the benefits of this, I mean, for us, you know, the main distinction was getting it onto cinemas. That was the distinction, because, you know, there's so much productions that are going onto TV and going onto things like YouTube and you know, the internet, that it's, you know, it becomes difficult to tell what are the really quality products, what are the really beneficial products, because there's so much there. It's impossible to see the wood from the trees, in effect. But when you put something on cinema, it's like, wow, it's the first Islamic film that's been on cinema since The Message 35 years ago. Wow. So, you know, it's like, you know, keep things in context. So really what I do want to encourage, and what my mission is at the moment, is just to get more and more Islamic products up on cinemas around the world, where basically, and the mainstream has to take note of you. They can't ignore you, you know, because I'm sure if they could ignore you, they would, you know, not in a disrespectful way. It's just how things are, you know. Things are driven by the market. But we've shown with One Day in the Haram that, look, with a 30 million plus viewership around the world, with you know, VOD deals, you know, with cinema screenings all over the world, we've shown there is a market and it can be done. So hopefully, inshallah, I'd like to think that one of the legacies of the work is that, you know, other younger filmmakers will come through now, and they'll make things that are even more beautiful, even more astonishing, even more beneficial, you know, for the Islamic market.
Because I just feel like maybe some even filmmakers or creatives, maybe they're not stepping into this market or this field because they feel like either it's more difficult or it's not. Maybe sometimes you might think there's not much money to be made, it's not even profitable. I feel like that it puts them off, because not many people have done it, they feel like, what's the point? But you know, I think basically with what you've done, you've sent the, inshallah, the benchmark there. Just hoping that more people do now feel like, and they see, you know what, there is potential, because if you don't try, I guess you're never going to do it, right?
And you know, I'm always confused, like really confused, when I see Muslims who've made a name in the Islamic market, and all their real aim is to try and get into the mainstream. It's like, why would you want to do that? Like, why would you want to go in the mainstream when you're in the best place and gaining the maximum, you know, benefit for yourself and your work? It's like, you know, you can reach a lot more people on the mainstream, but there's always an element of selling yourself out in that way. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. You know, it's just how the industry is. You know, people are regularly asked to sell themselves out. You know, 10 years ago, after I made a very successful show called Model Mosque, it had a huge amount of media around the world. It was a massive success. You know, and I got offers from the mainstream to come and work on projects, and when I looked at these projects, like, no, this is not what I want to do. It's certainly not the vision of Islam that I want to portray. You know, there were always barriers, there was always things that I would have to compromise to do that. But what is happening now, alhamdulillah, is that we're continuing to make things for the Islamic market, and the mainstream is becoming interested in those. They're wondering, wow, he's you know, managed to get a big audience. How can we tap into this? So rather than going towards them, they're actually coming towards us. And I think this is what we have to encourage. I don't rate these kind of artists or directors who are there, have got the Islamic market and are just desperately trying to get into the mainstream. I can't understand that. It's like, why do you want to do that? Other than obviously people want to get paid. There's natural human instincts, like, you know, you want to get paid. You want a bigger fan base or a bigger following. But, you know, for me, it's always always been quite easy. I'd never compromised on that thing. I'm glad that it's now getting out to millions of people under our own under our own terms. We're not we're not selling out to the mainstream. I honestly don't think mainstream has got anything on us. The Muslim consumer market is a $2 trillion market. I mean, why do people want to go elsewhere? Like, stay in this market, develop this market, help this market to grow.
Yeah, that's really good piece of advice. I think for a lot of people now, it makes it clear. It sends a message out, like, we can still stick to our own principles, do things on our own terms, control the narrative, and put out some quality out there. And naturally, they'll come to us. The mainstream will literally come and they'll be interested. I think that's a really good, strong message. I think we've spoken a lot about One Day in the Haram. Alhamdulillah, it was a great success. But like I said at the beginning, even better news now that we've heard recently. We've seen the trailer come out in feed. We shared the trailer as well. It's out there. One Night in Al Aqsa. That's amazing, and it sounds amazing. Obviously, as it stands, it's not out yet. It will be out very, very soon. Let's go to that one, because now you've shifted from the Haram, gone to now, Jerusalem, the first Qibla for Muslims, a historic place. How did that come about? Was that always in the plans? Were you always thinking one day the Haram is going to be followed by this, or?
Yeah, again, it's like, when I said earlier, like, I didn't allow myself to become confident or allow myself to think, oh, this is going to be really successful. I just didn't. And with Al-Aqsa, it was one of those things as well. People had said it straight away, even before we started filming One Day in the Haram. People say, hey, and then we can do Medina and we can do Al-Aqsa as well. How about that? Wouldn't it be amazing? And I was like, yeah, alhamdulillah. These things are all down to Allah. So I never think about them too much or for too long. When we did the One Day in the Haram tour and we went all over, not just in the UK, but around the world, the number one question that would come was, okay, what are you doing next? Are you going to do Medina? Are you going to do Al-Aqsa? We need a film like this. And I'd always say to them, to all the people who ask me that question, well, these things are all in the hands of Allah. And if it's written for me, then I will do it, and inshallah do it well, and inshallah do it in a way that is going to be beneficial for Islam. And if it's not, I really don't mind. What people have to understand is I'm so blessed from One Day in the Haram. It's a film that it really changed my life. I can't ever get over the amount of blessings to do with that film. So anything that comes on top now is just a bonus. I think, as we was talking earlier about the mainstream versus Islamic kind of entertainment, I think really we need to develop the whole scene. So it doesn't need to be me. I'm not excited about the fact that, okay, it's me making this film. I just want more Islamic films to be made. So that's like the first point. But Al-Aqsa, okay. So here's the funny thing. Here's a really funny story. When we made One Day in the Haram and we got the permission from Sheikh Sadeh Sultan, it was for the Haramain. It was for Mecca and Medina. It was meant to be both. These were combined in one film. So not many people know that. And then what happened is I got through the planning and doing everything, and I realized there's so much in Mecca. It's too much even for one film. And also my instinct said to me that, no, Mecca deserves its own film. And Medina is another, it's an amazing Islamic city that also deserves its own film. They're two different entities. We can't combine them into one. So when I sat around the table in one of the very first production meetings with all the Haramain staff, and I said, and they said, okay, so at what point of the production are we going to go to Medina? I said, guys, we're not going to go to Medina. And everyone's like, what? And they were literally up in arms. They were like, how can you not go to Medina? Like, you must go. And I explained them my reasoning. And I said, look, how important Makkah is, how many stuff there is. And I said to them, we'll come back and we'll make Medina its own film. And once I expressed that, everyone kind of understood that point of view, and everyone got on side with that. And it was always in the pipeline that we would finish this and we'd go to Medina. So at the point that Al-Aqsa happened, we already had the pre-production started on Medina. It was already, we'd had the permissions directly from the Prince of Medina. We had a lot of support in Saudi for the project. Everyone was geared towards making this film. But when Al-Aqsa came, I just felt it has to be Al-Aqsa first. I thought it has to be Al-Aqsa first, because I thought, okay, maybe we won't get the chance then we might lose that opportunity. If there is an opportunity to make Al-Aqsa, I wanted to make Al-Aqsa, because the reason for that was simple, because Al-Aqsa is under threat at the moment. Al-Aqsa is one of the it's the third holiest site in Islam. It's one of the most important institutions to Muslims. It's such a historic and important place from a theological point of view for Islam. And not to document that place if I had the chance, I don't think anything could have, I would never have forgiven myself if I'd missed that opportunity. So that opportunity came, it presented itself to me, thanks to the will of Allah. I decided, okay, let's put Medina on hold and let's go and do Al-Aqsa. It's just
Yeah.
more, it just felt more important. It felt that's our calling. Like, that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
And that's where we can do the most amount of benefit, is by doing a film on Al-Aqsa and bringing this to the attention of the world. So that's how Al-Aqsa basically started. And, but it was, like I say, I wouldn't say these things myself, but people around me were saying, hey, Al-Aqsa, hey,
Yeah,
Medina,
yeah.
hey, let's do these other things. But for me, it wasn't, I was always, I was always under the impression that, Allah has blessed me so much with One Day in the Haram, I can't ask for more. It's just being greedy to ask for more. Maybe someone else deserves a chance
Yeah.
to make that film, and maybe someone can make it even better than I would make it, in Medina or in Al-Aqsa. But the opportunity came, we took the opportunity, and as soon as the opportunity was there, I really didn't have any doubt in my mind that was the path that I was meant to go on. So alhamdulillah, and
Alhamdulillah.
that's how Al-Aqsa developed. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, that's amazing. I
Yeah.
mean, with Al-Aqsa now, it must be like from my understanding, it must be just a complete different film now
Yeah.
to the Haram, because Haram,
Yeah.
you're focused more on the goings on in the actual masjid, behind the scenes, but outside of the masjid there's not as much. But now obviously in Al-Aqsa, it's a historical site, and it's not just for Muslims but for people of other faiths as well. And you've got just the whole area, the whole of
Yeah.
Jerusalem is such a historic site, so it's such a blessed place. So
Yeah.
what are we expecting in that film that's going to be different to One Day in the Haram?
I think anyone who's been to both Makkah and Jerusalem will know. I mean, these are two beautiful, historically important cities. Jerusalem really has its own vibe. I don't think there's another place on earth like Jerusalem. It's a beautiful city to look at. The brick. And the funny thing is they've maintained Jerusalem so much better. Makkah, obviously the expansions and everything's
Yeah,
well
yeah.
documented. The expansions have come in. A lot of the kind of cultural, historical sites have gone.
Yeah.
But in Jerusalem, they preserved everything, original stonework, things like this. It's been very well preserved. Jerusalem has its own vibe, and obviously it's also the fact that it's under occupation, that adds a different vibe to Jerusalem. There's a sadness around Jerusalem, and it's not, something that people say openly or always, people can smile or whatever, but there is a permeable sadness in Jerusalem, and you feel it. And I think this probably has come across in the film as well.
Okay.
I think, Jerusalem, the Palestinian people, because Jerusalem, that film, One Day in the Haram, was just about the Haram, the institution. I think the One Night in Al-Aqsa film is about the place for sure, but it's also about the people in the
as
place.
well.
And ultimately the people are a lot more important actually than even the place. I think somebody quoted me a very good strong hadith the other day where they said, look, even we talk about Jerusalem and how important it is, but even the Haram, in terms of the life of one believing worshipper, is more valuable than these institutions. And so that was really part of my ethos going into this. I really wanted to get into the psychology of the Palestinian people,
Yeah.
and what they go through, what they experience on a day-to-day basis. So it became that. But with One Night in Al-Aqsa, I think it's going to be a real eye-opener for many people. I don't think anyone will have seen Jerusalem the way it's portrayed in One Night in Al-Aqsa. And also, just to top it off, something amazing happened, because it was kind of, with One Day in the Haram, it had this structure which was across the 5 prayers. But, One Night in Al-Aqsa, it was like, okay, how is this film going to differentiate itself from One Day in the Haram? So I didn't want to make the same film again, of course. I wanted to, as a creative, you always want to do something new or put a new twist on it. But alhamdulillah, I credit, again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving me, these kind of ideas. But the idea of focusing on the Night of Power was just a phenomenal idea. That as soon as it came to me, then I thought, this is really the vehicle. Is going to be the Night of Power. So with One Night in Al-Aqsa, it's actually the theological backing of what happened in Al-Aqsa, why it's so important to the Muslims. All those stories, those places, the Dome of the Rock, the Qibli Masjid, the Baraka Mosque, all these different places are focused on. But during the narrative, we've got the Night of Power going on, where 400,000 Muslims came to Al-Aqsa. Wow. And the reason this happened, because, when I first went to Al-Aqsa, I did the recce and everything, and it was really surprising for me how quiet Al-Aqsa was. At the prayers, if you went to a typical Dhuhr or Asr prayer, there was only 3 lines of people praying. And I was really to my fixers and the people there, around me, I was like, well, but where are the crowds? Where, because
Yeah.
I'm not knowledgeable. I wasn't knowledgeable about Jerusalem before I went there. Obviously, built up a great knowledge now. But when I went there, I was, where are the crowds? Why are there not more people here? And they said, no, for this reason and that reason, it's difficult to come. They said, but at Ramadan, he said, that's when you'll see the people. So I said, wow, and this idea started developing then, that the Night of Power would be a very interesting night to film at Al-Aqsa, because we've got all these beautiful, gorgeous looking shots of the buildings and everything, the architecture, the design, but it's all very sparse and empty. There's no real life, but come the Night of Power, 400,000 Muslims descended on Al-Aqsa from all sides, and it was such a beautiful atmosphere in there. And just to capture that atmosphere, was the highlight of the whole shoot. Was and that's why the film ultimately got called One Night in Al-Aqsa rather than one day in Al-Aqsa, to follow on to One Day in the Haram. That's why it got the title One Night in Al-Aqsa. Yeah,
interesting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, because like I said, I've been to the Haram 5 times. Unfortunately, I didn't get into Palestine when I got there. I was turned back. That's another story in and of itself. It's a long wait, but so for me, it's like
I feel for you. I can imagine exactly how you felt on that journey, and a few people have spoke to me, and they've been in that same position. Interesting story. When I first spoke to the Waqf about this, and like I say, it was much faster, the process here than the Waqf. I mean, they're used to using media, to get their aims and objectives across. They're used to this thing, and they got it almost straight away. Straight away is okay. We understand. How should we progress and this kind of thing. But I think when I said to them, okay, what's your guys' objective? What would you like out of this film? Because obviously I'm doing this to help Al-Aqsa. We want to portray Al-Aqsa in a way that you guys find acceptable and good. And he said, well, we don't want anything. He said, we don't want any sympathy or any money or anything like that. He said, we just want to encourage people to come and visit Al-Aqsa. And that, from the first meeting when they said that, and it got reiterated a number of times, no matter which sheikh I spoke to, we always iterate the same thing, that we need people to come and show solidarity with Al-Aqsa. We need people to visit Al-Aqsa. We need people to show support to the Palestinian people by coming to Al-Aqsa, and this became the running thread through that film. So One Night in Al-Aqsa, really, as I say, some beautiful shots, also a very heavy focus on the Night of Power and showing that miraculous night in the Al-Aqsa Mosque, but also a very strong message for Muslims around the world to visit Al-Aqsa, that it is possible to visit Al-Aqsa, that it's not as dangerous as the media makes out. It's not any of those things. You can go to Al-Aqsa, and ultimate aim of the film is to make Al-Aqsa so it's up there with Makkah, Medina, where it belongs, where it should be. It should be. There should be hundreds of thousands of people coming to Al-Aqsa all the time. There's currently not, but we want to make it so there is. And inshallah, my strong wish and dua for the film is that it just increases the amount of visitors to Al-Aqsa.
Inshallah. May Allah take us all back to the Haramain and to Al-Aqsa, inshallah. I wanted to just get some advice from you, actually. Firstly, let's speak about, since you've been in the Haram and you've had all of the access, and also we can speak about Al-Aqsa as well, is especially with the Hajj season coming up, a lot of people are gearing up to go for Hajj, for the pilgrimage. Any tips that you might have as someone who's now been there and, you've seen a lot now in the Haram. Any tips that you might want to share with the Hujjaj, the pilgrims going?
I mean, just if you're a Hajjaj and you're aiming for Hajj this year, well, firstly, pray Allah accepts it from you, and then you have a safe time there. I would just say, just be incredibly patient. Just take your patience with you in abundance. You will need it. It's going to be a beautiful time. And also, just selfishly, I'd ask any Hujjaj who are going to Hajj this year, please make dua for me and my family as well. Your duas are always most welcome, and inshallah, I pray Allah accepts it from you. I mean, I think it's very difficult, to give advice on this, because I feel everyone's journey is different. Everyone has their own experience there, and really, I think just really soak up that atmosphere there in the Haram, because really, there's just no place on earth like the Haram. It's just I miss it so much. My heart aches for Makkah, just to go there again and be close to the Haram. It's just the most beautiful feeling. So so enjoy yourselves, enjoy the time there, be safe, and inshallah, make dua for us as well.
Inshallah. I want to also get some, because we were speaking before about filmmaking, and we're talking about the mainstream as well. So there must be a lot of people watching that are young creatives, budding filmmakers, directors. What kind of advice would you give to anyone listening right now that might be interested, or they might be doing something now? What direction should they be heading towards?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. I mean, I think with our Muslim youth, we've got such an abundance of creativity in our ummah. There's such an abundance of creativity even that I see here in the UK, in London. There's incredibly talented Muslims around. All I would say to them, just don't feel that you have to cross over into the mainstream, that you have to operate within that barrier to be successful, because really you don't. There is a massive Islamic market for us to operate within, and we can work in that market. We can provide excellence to that market, and inshallah we can encourage the mainstream to come more towards that market as well, rather than us going the other way. I think these are really important things, and but mostly also I would just say, especially to the filmmakers who are out there, a lot of them ask me, oh, how should we get started, or what should I always say, just pick up your camera, even if it's just a phone. Pick up your camera and make something, shoot something, do something, just progress yourself in that. And that is really the best advice, because you can only learn from having the courage to pick up something and then just say, okay, I'm passionate about this particular topic or something, I want to make something on this. Just go and do it. There's really no other way. There's no shortcuts. There's nothing like that. Just go and do it. Inshallah. And if there are any filmmakers out there listening, I always say, it's part of my ethos to help the next generation of filmmakers coming through. I am always open on my Facebook, on Instagram. Contact me for any advice. If I can give you specific advice, I will. If I can get you onto a project, I will. If I can help you in any way develop yourselves, then I will. So inshallah, I mean, maybe down the line somewhere, not now because obviously it's so very busy at the moment, but somewhere down the line we will organize some seminars or something for people specifically who are interested in filmmaking, in producing, directing, camera work. We'll organize something for them, maybe with Ilmfeed actually, because we did speak about this before, but yeah, maybe we will organize something just to give people a head start and a little introduction to the industry.
Inshallah, that'd be great. That sounds amazing.
Inshallah, I think
because I think nowadays, especially with social media, it's easier to get your work out there as well, to upload and put stuff out there, and you have an audience which is ready to watch. I mean, you're not going to make it onto the big screens immediately, but you have to start somewhere. So I think honestly, for a lot of creatives out there, social media is a platform. Put your stuff out.
I mean, absolutely. Who knows? I mean, look at the position we're in, this Muslim ummah. I actually, someone brought this to my attention the other day. It's like, we've had the Haram there for the Muslim ummah for 1,400 years, and only now has an actual Muslim filmmaker come and made a film documenting this beautiful thing that is a part of, the key part of Islam. It's only now, like, why has that taken so long? We can't leave it so long, There's 100 different films that the Muslim Ummah needs, 100 quality productions that it needs. That's just the start. So really, I would encourage, like, all the Muslim-centered filmmakers, the creatives, the producers, the directors to really, be encouraged. Because there is lots of opportunity out there. There's lots of, not just opportunity for barakah, but opportunity for mainstream recognition as well from this.
Inshallah. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. We could talk about Haram for for hours on end. But when can we expect to see you one night in Al Aqsa?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. One of the pleasing things is that because of the success of One Day in the Haram, a lot of doors open. I mean, look at the team we had in One Day in the Haram. Even my executive producer was very inexperienced. Was his first film as well. On One Night in Al Aqsa, we've actually got an executive producer who's working with us, who's actually an Oscar-nominated executive producer. Mashallah, the standard is getting raised again. Alhamdulillah. And look at the premiere also, mashallah, we're having the premiere on August the 2nd in Leicester Square, and I'm really alhamdulillah, I'm very proud of the fact that we're the first Islamic film that will ever have had a premiere at Leicester Square. Really? I mean, these are big strides that we're making as a Muslim creative community. Mashallah. These are we're opening new doors and covering new ground. These things have never been done before, so now is the time. But August the 2nd, inshallah, I'll be in Leicester Square. We're going to bring Al Aqsa to Leicester Square, to London, for the first time in history, and inshallah I hope to see as many of the Ummah there on that night as I can as well.
Inshallah. And for anyone, because of course, alhamdulillah, Umfeed family is worldwide, where will others be able to catch the film?
So what's happening then, we'll do that premiere in Leicester Square. After the premiere, there's going to be a nationwide tour in the UK, cinema tour, so Odeon, View and Cineworld cinemas up and down the country. There'll be further screenings announced through the rest of this year. We're also going to organise screenings in Australia. So we've done a deal for Australia, for Canada, for cinema screenings in Canada, for the Canadian audience, and also for the USA. At the moment, things are very, very busy. There's lots of offers coming in. I forgot to mention Denmark, Norway, and Sweden as well. Those deals have already been done as well. So we'll be bringing it out in stages. Inshallah, we will get to everyone wherever there's a demand. Inshallah, it's our duty to bring the film there. Because it's one thing to make a film and make it beautiful and make it great and put it on cinema, but it's another really to get it out to the masses of audience who want to see it. So as soon as these cinema runs are over, inshallah, we will be doing the broadcast deals. We'll be getting on as many broadcast channels as we can, so we can hit large numbers of audience, inshallah. So make dua for us.
Inshallah, of course. We look forward to it. Brother Abrar, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. May Allah bless you, and inshallah with the One Night on Al Aqsa give you as much success and tawfiq as possible with this project.
Ameen, ameen. And may Allah bless the brothers at Ilmfeed as well for the fantastic work they're doing. Ilmfeed is an inspiration, I think, mashallah, is a real inspiration to the Muslim youth around the world. So inshallah, Allah keep you and strengthen you in what you do as well.
Inshallah, jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. And I hope our viewers and listeners, I hope you all enjoyed this episode, getting that in-depth insight into what goes on behind the scenes in the Haram and of course upcoming Al Aqsa film. Be sure to check out the film inshallah when it's out, and of course be sure to subscribe for more podcast episodes on YouTube, on iTunes. We hope to be back with you very soon inshallah. From your host Shabir, that's all we have time for, but inshallah I will see you soon. Stay best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.